Sorry. Didn't realize I hadn't created the MonsterMatt. Hey, Thresh Slayer. How are you two today? Sorry. I'll be sharing this podcast over Discord, same as I do with my other streams. I'm doing all right. I got my little surprise for everyone right here. It's not the image I wanted for this podcast, but it'll do. Okay. On the share link image, I mean the the one up on the screen in front of you. That is the one I meant to put up. So. Okay. Almost, almost done here. You have a knife? It's a nice knife. Black with a wooden handle. Sounds almost like some army knives I've seen. Probably not an army knife, but sounds like good quality though. Actually, kind of sounds like one of the knives I used to have. Okay, last Discord to be notified is coming up. Okay, that's done. Oh, that is a nice knife. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It was a tactical knife. Okay. This is Cobra. Tell him I'm live. Okay. So. Get in the chat here, make sure I didn't miss any comments. Let's see. So, Queenie, I've never really gotten a knife yet, but I've seen many cool designs for them. Yeah, there's tons of cool designs for knives. Thanks, Josh, on the congrats. Yep, it did take a long time. Yes, it did. Thank you, Queen Dolo. Now we celebrate by sacrificing goats. No goats are going to be sacrificed on this podcast. Hey, Spider. It's a picture that I saved. The PS4 can connect to the internet, so I just saved a picture and put some script on it, and I'm sharing it with all of you. I wish I could have found a better picture, but it does the trick. So, I haven't heard from Cobra yet, but he said last night that he was going to try to come. And MonsterMatt said basically the same thing. Unfortunately, JB had to work, or he'd be in here too. But I want to hit you up with a little background, because if you haven't figured it out now, I am going to read some of the portions of my Smash Brothers fanfiction. And I have been working on this, believe it or not, since 2015. And this is a rough draft. Cobra's probably busy helping his mom. Yeah, I know he had some things to do, and he wanted to do a couple streams today. But he said he'd try to be by. So hopefully that won't take too long and he can join us. But just in case, I figured I'd give him some time and let you know where I'm kind of coming from with this fan fiction, because I've worked on it for so long, and it currently has. Hold on, I've got the latest chapter right here. Just gotta go back. It has 27 chapters so far, and I've not gotten to the main event because it is actually very, very difficult to link all the different characters that are in Smash Brothers together in story wise. Yeah, yeah, 27 chapters so far. It's it's got two notebooks just dedicated to notes, and then it's got two notebooks dedicated to the story so far. And I'm hoping to clean it up and everything and submit it to Nintendo eventually. Is what my goal is. Kind of a, I mean, they could probably do miles better than anything I could come up with as far as a adventure mode for Smash Brothers that progresses the stories of all their main franchises. No, you're not, Josh. You are not too dumb. But anyway, you don't have to be too smart because I'm gonna read some of it to you. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into this fan fiction, and which is why I wanted to start off with a little bit of background on like where this story is kind of taking place for everyone. So, as you guys probably know, I main Sam. And anyway, I main Samus in Smash Brothers, and so that was one of the things I wanted to talk about. Josh, you're too dumb to understand someone reading one page of a book. No, you're not. Okay, anyway, canonically, in the Metroid timeline, Metroid Fusion is the last one so far. And where Samus leaves off in the game, she is more or less on the run from the Galactic Federation, the people that have been paying her for the bounties she's turned in. Hey, MonsterMatt, you made it. Managed to stop in. How we doing? Doing good. I'm just providing a little bit of background for the fan fiction that I want to read that I've been working on since 2015. this it's got 27 chapters currently, and I've gotten closer to the main event, but I haven't gotten to the main event of the Smash uh, Brothers fan fiction yet. Um, it's actually quite difficult to piece together all however many characters there are in Smash Brothers now. I lost count. Story wise, and make them all fit. But I did find a link. No pun intended. That a lot of them share, and that is either dimensional traveling or time traveling. And so those are the two doorways like that you have with most of their franchises in Smash Brothers. Anyway, oh, by the way, MonsterMatt, if you're still here, I did set up a party chat for us on the PlayStation 4. So if you want to join, feel free to. It'll be open for you. And I I did send you the invite, I believe. So you should have that. Josh, you say, I gotta go, man. Hopefully I can come back later, but for now, congrats. Thanks! Oh, you don't have a headset for your PS4? Okay. I'm sorry. I thought you did. Um, well, should be able to pick you up on the Discord if you want to join the general chat on my Discord. We can do that. Because my microphone should be able to pick you up. You were one of the Discord crowd? Okay. Let's see. I think. I think you're on my Discord. Hold on. Yeah. Yeah, you are. Okay. There we go. So I'm just going to mute myself. On the Discord since you can.
Hello?
Hey, there you are. Can you hear me? Okay, let's try that. Can you hear me now?
Yes, it just if I try to hear you through the stream, there's a considerable delay. So
Okay, okay. That's fair enough.
how's it going, dude? Congrats again on the 200.
Thank you, Thank you, Matt. It's going well.
Good, good.
Hey, Real High 25.
Welcome, real high. Hello, Queen Hello.
So, do you have a introduction that you usually do for yourself, Matt?
I mean, it's your special, man. I don't want it. I'm just here to support you. I'm not looking to promote or anything like that.
Well, I mean, that's okay. I give everyone a chance to do their intros if that's what they want to do. So,
It's all good, man. You just do your thing. I'm honestly really, really tired. It's all good. Uh,
okay, fair enough. Did you not have a good night last night?
No, it's honestly like I really fully intended to like just avoid YouTube this weekend and just rest up, but I did tell you that I'd try to be here, so I try to live up to that.
Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate that, man. I know how much you've gone through, and so you have my sympathies.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I probably shouldn't delay this much longer. um. So yeah, like I was saying, there are two main things that you can link all the characters in Smash Brothers to, and that's time travel and dimensional travel. So with those two things, you have an infinite number of ways to get them all in the same universe, because like Fire Emblem has the Dragon Gates, uh, Legend of Zelda has time travel. Mario has dimensional travel. Mario is just like an open book. You can do whatever with Mario because there are no rules. Mario has its own twisted rules. um, let's see. F Zero kind of goes is a little more straightforward, but even it has like hyperspace and that kind of stuff. So it lends itself to dimensional travel and whatnot. And I see Cobra just got online. And even in F Zero, there is, believe it or not, a Rainbow Road. So there's your link for F Zero to Mario, because Rainbow Road is a space road, I believe
Yeah, kind of like a
they call it.
interstellar cosmic star bridge that different racers can access. I guess that's kind of cool.
Yeah, yeah. And I found evidence in F Zero's lore that they can access that same road.
Nice.
And then I've done some research on Kirby, but Kirby is kind of like Mario in that he has his own rules and how his universe works.
Yeah, I mean Mario's got multiple references to Star Haven, Star Road. Mario Kart's up there, all the kind of stuff, and then
Right,
Kirby, of course, rides on a star, so it all kind of is vaguely, plausibly connected that way.
right. So that's kind of where the basis for my fan fiction got its start. I'm like, you know what? I see these similarities. I wonder if there's any actual canon, you know, linkage to these different games. And sure enough, there are, just based off what we were talking about here, like the Star Road and Rainbow Road and that kind of stuff. Just between Mario and Kirby, for instance.
Right.
And so, as I was doing the research, I began writing down, some of the more interesting things, like some of the critters that Mario and Kirby have, and uh, Taboo, like for instance, in Smash Bros. Brawl, is the essence of subspace. Like, he's not just an energy body being; he is subspace. So everyone that uses like a hyper engine, for instance, to go to light speed has to travel through him.
Which characters again? Sorry, I didn't actually play Brawl.
Uh, so Taboo is the big bad boss that you face at the end of the adventure mode in Subspace Emissary. He
Okay.
he's the one that causes all the trouble for everyone.
Okay.
And he does that by means of shadow bugs, which are the embodiment of a primordial substance that can take the form of any number of lesser subspace foes and copy sentient creatures and races to create evil doppelganger versions of them. They often appear as small, glowing violet spheres in their natural form and come from Mr. Game & Watch,
Interesting.
the unknowing source of Taboo's subspace army. So, there's your link to getting everyone in Smash Brothers in the same area, is through these shadow bugs and through Taboo.
Okay.
So, because my theory was it's possible that these shadow bugs create props that Mr. Game & Watch uses in his attacks. They are neutral creatures, and since the concepts of good and evil don't exist in Super Flat World, which is Game & Watch's universe, I guess, so anyone could potentially use them.
Welcome, Little Fox Gamer, by the way.
Hey, Luna! And then, of course, you got Master Hand and Crazy Hand, and like we already mentioned, Rainbow Road. Hey, Cobra! Cobra just joined the party on the PS4. see, and I've got notes on Vincent Valentine and all these lots and lots of notes. Like I said, two notebooks full of notes. Anyway, I should probably get back to Samus. So, where Samus is not like she's not wearing the same suit that we see in Smash Brothers Ultimate or like any of the Smash Brothers games. Like it's a totally different suit. It is the fusion suit. So that'd be where she left off is in the fusion suit. It's not the Variety
Right.
suit.
Yeah, right, yeah, I don't remember what it's called, but yeah, her fixed up suit in a fusion when she fights off the Omega Metroid in the SAX.
Right. So where she would be in her franchise's timeline is running from the Galactic Federation because she blew up another science space station of theirs, along with another planet.
Yeah, yeah. May or may not have actually stopped the X as well, which is kind of like, well,
Yeah, I mean the trade-off of that is that there's no more threat from the X parasite, and there's no more threat from the Metroids. But the the gravity in the galaxy that SR388 blew up in has changed drastically, and that changes other things for other galaxies. So here you have have a person that was already powerful that knows how to blow up planets, and naturally, you know, a militant group like the Galactic Federation is not going to let that person just run free. Like she was on their payroll, which is why they trusted her. But now she's gone against that. So I didn't actually hear what.
they probably feel pretty good about their odds as far as space pirates and such go these days anyway, because she's already basically kicked them to the curb as well.
Right. And that's where you have the threat of Samus joining up with the space pirates come in, which is a valid threat, but I don't see it knowing Samus's
No,
character.
I think she hates them way too much.
Exactly. Like the space pirates are the ones that destroyed her family. You know, she
Yeah,
literally saw her parents die in front of her.
yeah, and
Be-
even after that, I mean, she's been fighting them her whole life, and it's not like they've had any redeeming qualities in her eyes since then. So it's not like they've gradually won her over or anything. They're just sort of being terrible.
exactly. I mean, the best case scenario you have for that option is the enemy of my enemy, which isn't a strong case,
No,
especially with
it's
Samus.
not. Yeah, like it would have to be something like galaxy threatening for her to even consider it. Even then, she would probably rather just go it alone.
Exactly. And I find the idea interesting. I don't find it plausible, you know.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, uh, oh, here's another interesting thing I learned in my research. This about Metroid again. The Kozo or the Chozo, however you say their name, created the
Yeah.
Metroids to combat the X parasite. So that kind of explains why Samus' genetic structure was able to absorb and be modified like it does, because they already modified her genetic structure in the first place. So it makes sense that in order to fight off the X parasite infection, that Metroids would be a factor in curing that. But that does have some drawbacks, obviously.
Right.
Like she,
I mean, yeah, I can kind of see how there might be a connection there. It's a bit of a stretch, but it's at least plausible.
right. Well, because even in the lore, like the fusion suit is nowhere near as strong as the Varia suit.
Right.
Like even with all the gadgets and weapons and stuff and upgrades that she has at the end of the game in the fusion suit and everything she's absorbed, it's not as strong as the Varia.
Yeah, well,
And
yeah, the various suits got more, like it didn't have her weakness to cold and such
right,
that she's got now.
right. So it would be plausible that she'd want to get some form of the Varia suit back.
Yeah.
And that,
So possible.
yeah. So that plays a part in my fan fiction as well.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So, hey Cobra, how you doing?
Doing well.
Good. All right, I welcomed you earlier, but I don't know if you heard me or not.
Oh, I was just doing something, so.
Oh, okay. All right. But, I got MonsterMatt on Discord here.
Yo.
Yeah, I can't hear Cobra on my end because like in order to hear him, I have to turn stream back on, and there's like a huge delay. So
Okay.
like I'm watching, but
Well,
I can't listen to both. So
all right. No problem. Oh, MonsterMatt says hi, Cobra.
yeah, sorry. It's a
Well, tell him I said hello.
yeah, it's
All
just
right.
disorienting to have to listen like because like I'm hearing you talk like now, and then if I turn stream back on, I'll hear the same thing you just said to me like 5 seconds later, and it's very disorienting.
Yeah. No, I get it, dude. You're dude. You're fine. Cobra says hi.
Hello, Cobra.
Hello.
Okay, so I should get into the meat of this because, like I said, there's 27 chapters, and I'm not gonna read them all, but I figured I'd read like a chapter or two because, like I said, I've been working on this since 2015, and Cobra's heard me talk about it, and you know about it too, I think before this podcast. Yeah, MonsterMatt. Because I know I've at least mentioned it to you, I think.
Yeah, you've mentioned it, I think, in passing, yeah.
Alright. So let's do this. It's called Smash Brothers Invasion. Or Subspace Invasion. Chapter 1 Bleed Over Effect. Ganondorf looked over the field of battle with a menacing smile. It was glorious. Simply glorious. Silver and blue flashed and rippled against green, red, and bone white as the Hylian forces fought hard against his moblins, stall children, and lizardmen. He saw an Arialphos, a winged lizardman, shoot upwards out of the sea of men and elves, only to come crashing back down with its spiked mace leading the way, bone, blood, and meat flying. The sounds of battle rang loud with the cries of pain and death. Ganondorf smiled, as a large black armored figure swept aside 6 men with his greatsword and sent them flying into comrades and enemies alike, their terrified screams ripping through the air before they were silenced by the moblin hordes. One brave soldier of Hyrule leapt through the air at him, his sword coming in high for a skull-splitting strike. "Fool," Ganondorf murmured, before raising one of his great black blades and sending the unfortunate man flying, as both the Demon King's great physical strength and the power of his lightning swatted the man easily aside. The man was dead long before his body even hit the ground, the lightning blackening and charring his body as it crashed into an elven boy clad in green. The Demon King's red eyes narrowed to the blue ones currently glaring at him from underneath the still smoking corpse that had been batted his way. The hero struggled to keep moblins from impaling him as he picked himself up. Ganondorf sent a bolt of lightning towards his nemesis, but it was intercepted by another Hyrulean soldier's shield. The soldier himself was sent backwards, however, testifying to the strength of the spell as both the soldier and Link went down, the soldier crashing down atop the hero. Ganondorf's deep, rumbling laughter rolled across the battling forces like a wave from the sea. 20 soldiers came in at the demon thief, and 20 soldiers were sent back, blackened and charred beyond recognition, as the evil king raised one of his black swords and summoned a lightning bolt so big it blinded everyone near him, friend and foe alike. When Link looked up, Ganondorf was clutching his shoulder, and Zelda, the Princess of Hyrule, was standing over Link. "Get up, Link. The opening we've been looking for is here," Zelda said, offering the hero her hand as Impa, her loyal bodyguard, cut through one of the huge red moblins as it raised its spear to run the princess and hero through. Multicolored lights and sparks danced before the hero's eyes, but they pushed on, dodging and weaving their way through the armed crowd. Ganondorf was breathing heavy. Though his tactics and military maneuvers were both brilliant and merciless, his downfall had always been his arrogance, and now Zelda and Link moved to take advantage of that weakness. It was not to be, however. As soon as the two heroes of Hyrule stepped within range of his swords, or runes, they exploded, sending the princess and the hero forward right into the Demon King's black hands. Dazed and confused, Zelda and Link hung a few feet off the ground as Ganondorf's will surged through the Triforce of Power, beckoning its other halves to free themselves from their guardians. To Link and Zelda's horror, their pieces started to glow and respond again in silent command. Link raised his Master Sword, as Zelda raised her own sword, determined to put an end to the maniacal king before he could complete his task. But the evil king sent black magic through them, causing them both to scream in pain as their nerves seemed to be lit aflame. The three pieces of the Triforce glowed brightly between the three guardians as the Battle of Wheels began. But a few feet away, Impa shook away the sparks and multicolored lights that had been the result of Ganon's lightning attack. Looking around, she saw that the number of guards had surrounded her, giving her time to recuperate as she fought off the blinding effects of the spell. Impa spotted Link and the princess locked in Ganondorf's grasp, writhing in pain as black energy coursed through them, their screams drawing her eye. The Hyrulean forces fought valiantly, but the overwhelming forces of Ganondorf's horde dwindled them down to only a few hundred who were spread into a ring, a silver ring amidst a sea of black. Impa saw one chance to end the conflict, even as men fell around her. "Form an arrowhead," she called, and the men in front he called back, "Yes, ma'am," and struggled to push against the moblin enemies to get into position. "Shield wall!" came the order to all the men. In an instant, shields crashed into place. "Pikemen, to the center! Keep the enemy back!" Impa cried, amidst chaos and the horde's roars. "Yes, ma'am!" came the expected reply, as the men shuffled into their assigned positions. Slowly, Impa made her way to the front of the wedge formation, striking enemies within range of her greatsword as she went. Once she was behind the soldier at the front of the wedge, she summoned the innate magics of her people to conjure up the water element and focus it on her blade. With a great roar, Impa leapt over the soldiers and brought down her greatsword, crashing into the ground as she fell, sending a great wave of pressurized water out in front of her that split the forces in front of them. A clear path lay in front of them now, straight to Ganondorf. To me! Impa roared, and the remaining Hyrule militia roared its reply as they all surged forward at once, Impa leading the charge as she swung her greatsword in front of her. Those that didn't move out of the way of the blade's path were cut down as spears, javelins, daggers, axes, polearms, and swords rang uselessly against the moving shield wall. And those who fell before the moving party were trampled, friend and foe alike. Ganondorf looked up as the roar of Hylian men caught his attention. He smiled as he saw Impa charging him with the remainder of the Hylian forces. Suddenly, a great tremor ran through the earth. Looking over the battlefield, he saw a great dust cloud drawing closer. He saw his forces turn and run as great rolling boulders smashed through his troops. Gorons, Ganondorf sneered, to which Link and Zelda smiled, despite beginning to turn blue. I would love to toy with your Goron friends, Ganondorf sneered again. But your friends are too late, he said, raising the princess and the Hyrule higher in triumph as the complete Triforce rose above their heads. At once, Ganondorf dropped his two hostages, allowing them to breathe once again. Just as his fingers grasped the sacred treasure, a shadow crossed over his face, and Ganondorf looked up into the flying form of Impa and her great blade falling down upon him. Ganondorf, though, only smiled, and closed his eyes as his fingers wrapped around the Triforce firmly. To Ganondorf, everything went black. The roar of the battlefield fell silent. Power, such as he'd never felt before, ran through him, giving him strength, making him feel alive like never before. Whole worlds were at his command, and if he wanted to, he could tear asunder time itself. Ganondorf's malicious laughter echoed across the battlefield, and then the masses battling really did fall silent. Link and Zelda breathed deeply as they watched in horror as Ganondorf began to glow with divine power and rise into the air. As Impa rebounded off a Hylian soldier's shield and leapt at the Demon King, in an instant Ganondorf was gone. Disappeared. One moment he was there, and the next he wasn't. And Impa landed heavily on the ground, expecting the weight of her blade to be buried in Ganon's chest. But there was no body, no blood, nothing. She whirled around, bringing her sword up in a defensive manner, her hand resting against the flat of the blade in preparation for the counterattack. But it never came. Slowly, Impa lowered her weapon. I missed? She asked in disbelief. She looked at Zelda and Link, confusion plain on her face. Zelda closed her eyes and summoned what magical powers she could tell whether what she already knew was fact. Ganondorf is gone. I could no longer sense his presence, she said, looking to Link, who also shook his head, answering her silent question. Impa looked out at the remaining Hyrule forces, the Gorons, and the thousands of Moblins and Mogoblins, Stall Children, and Lizardmen, who all had the same expression, confusion. Ganondorf was moments away from winning, so where has he gone? Impa finally asked. No, Impa, he has won, Zelda replied. He took our Triforce pieces and left. But he's always wanted dominion over Hyrule. So why would he leave? What could be more important than his lifelong goal? Power, Link said, drawing everyone's eyes to him. A moment later, King Bulblin drew his horn and blew it. All eyes focused on him for a moment, but the massive Moblin simply turned his boar around and stalked off. A few moments later, the remaining forces of the Horde followed. What are they doing? Someone from the remainder of the Hylian Guard asked. Leaving, Link said, again drawing all the eyes near him to him. They follow the strong. It's all they know, he said, by way of explanation, when he was met by questioning looks. How do you know that? Impa asked carefully. Link opened his mouth to reply, but closed it again when no answer was forthcoming. I don't know, Link said after a minute. I just do. He shrugged. So that was chapter 1. And Cobra, did you realize, or did you recognize the different elements I had in there?
Yeah, I believe so.
I mean, you played one of them just recently.
But
Hyrule Warriors.
oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, that.
And then the thing at the end where Link is explaining that the Moblins and Mogoblins just follow the strong. That was from Twilight Princess. Anyway, but there's a reason why Link knows this. And it, I don't remember where I reveal it exactly. But what'd you think of chapter 1?
It was interesting.
Yeah?
Yeah. I liked how you put the emphasis in your when you're reading the fan fiction, you're with your voicing the line stuff. I kind of like that.
Thanks. Hopefully you can tell the difference between Ganondorf and the other characters. I'm not much of a voice actor, so I'm doing the best I can, but...
Yeah.
So, do you want to hear another chapter, Cobra? Or Matt?
What does MonsterMatt think?
Well, I'm actually having some trouble following because I'm not sure if it's Discord or what, but it's eating part of it. Like when you're reading it, bits and pieces of your sentences are missing, which is kind of throwing me off a little bit. On top of it, I'm not quite sure what to do in that.
That's not good.
Yeah, so I'll get parts of it, and then you'll just be reading, and it'll be Matt, yeah, and it'll just it's I'm not sure what exactly is doing it, but it's not helping.
Weird. I hope it's not my... Well, I'm not getting any indications it's my internet. So it might just be because of all the different audio apps I have open.
Because you're, it might be that. It might just be Discord. I know I've had similar problems with Discord here and there in the past. It's not perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, if you want to keep doing, if you want to keep reading, that's what you want to do for your specialty. Just don't worry about me too much. It's your show, man.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll do one more chapter, and then that should be over an hour. So that that'd be good enough for me. Like I said, I still got a lot of work to do on this. This is only the rough draft. It's not, completed or
I
anything.
mean, from what I was able to follow, it seemed like you definitely did a lot of laying the groundwork there with the Hylians and such, and you were getting into it there with the reading, and that was pretty cool.
Thanks. Yeah, I can post I think you have a writing portion in your Discord.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah, writing and poetry. There it is. So I can post the first chapter if you want to catch up on some of the parts you missed.
If you want to.
Okay. Maybe I'll do that later after the podcast. Alright, so chapter 2 is called It's a Trap. If you can't tell what that's from.
Well, I was just wondering if Admiral Akbar was around.
uh, so it was in the moment when Ganondorf laid hold of the Triforce that he felt it. Another source of power, one more powerful than the completed Triforce itself. It beckoned to him from across the universe. It begged for release from its prison. It occurred to the Demon King that he could be going mad. It was, after all, reasonably possible, as everyone due to deteriorated genetic lines had the same chance. He knew that it was all chance whether someone ended up sane or not. After all, genius and insanity were part of the same rupee. All that separated them was a razor's edge. Ganondorf was certain, though, that he was not going insane. It was far more likely that his magical senses had been heightened, and the Triforce had sought out the one thing Ganondorf craved: power. All of this occurred to him in less than the 2 seconds it took for Ganondorf to wrap his hands around the blessing of the goddesses and teleport away, letting the Triforce guide him to the power source he sensed. When Ganondorf arrived, all he saw was darkness. It wasn't until a few minutes later, when his eyes adjusted, that he saw lights in that darkness. Specifically, stars. Welcome back, Ganondorf. A dark, deep, thunderous voice whispered in his mind. Ganondorf looked around for the source of the voice, but all he could see was starlight and the odd, translucent, purple path he was on. "Who's there?" Ganondorf called out when his senses failed to determine the location of the unseen person. "Come out and kneel before your god," he demanded. A deep rumble echoed through the void and shook the ground, and it dawned on Ganon that whoever it was laughing at him. "A god? You?" The voice laughed again. "You know nothing of a god's power," it stated matter-of-factly, as it tore the Triforce from Ganondorf as if taking a toy from a baby. Ganondorf screamed in outrage and shot bolt after bolt of black lightning into the void, but all it did was amuse the thing again. "Ooh, shiny," the voice cackled, further angering the Demon King. With a great roar, Ganondorf released his power, shedding his human form and taking on the form of a great, fearsome-looking tusked beast, whose eyes glowed with a crackling white energy. Another echoing laugh ripped through the void. "Oh, very impressive. I am stunned, truly," the voice said, sounding anything but. With a roar that shook the ground and echoed into the void itself, Ganondorf leapt up towards the radiantly shining Triforce. He came within inches of it before it was pulled higher out of his grasp. With another deafening roar, Ganon stretched out his quickly transforming arm, which shot upwards as it took on the appearance of embers and smoke. "It is mine!" Ganondorf roared, as his ethereally smoking hand wrapped around the Triforce. "Strong of power, slow of mind," the voice said, before the void, from the void, as it merely slapped Ganondorf, the force of which sent him rocketing back to the ground and hitting it with the force of a small nuclear explosion. When the dust cleared, Ganondorf was back in his human form, his flaming locks scattered around him. With his head reeling, Ganondorf picked himself up, only to be picked up by the unseen force and tossed into a waiting portal. "Thank you for the gift," the voice cackled, as the very space seemed to separate and began to form itself into a roughly humanoid shape, with great wings, the edges of which were like blades. "I shall make great use of it," Ganondorf heard in his head before he disappeared into the portal. Somewhere in the edges of Ganondorf's last conscious thought, as he plummeted back into Hyrule's air shortly before he hit the ground at what would have been, for anybody else, breakneck speeds, he felt the odd feeling of déjà vu. He'd been there before. He just didn't know when. And that was Taboo's introduction.
Nice. Ganondorf definitely having some performance anxiety there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Gandalf's not used to people tossing him around like a toy.
Yeah, a little frustrating for, the holder of the Triforce of Power.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
can see why he'd be cross about that.
Yeah.
He's accustomed to being like, the big stick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's not used to being forced to eat that big stick.
Yeah, pretty much.
So that's how the fan fiction starts, and then every so often I change characters. Like the next chapter deals with Samus and the Galactic Federation, and Star Fox are all in the same chapter. I believe. Hold on. Okay, no, the third chapter is just Samus. Okay. Star Fox hasn't entered, but yet. But Star Fox is around. They show up in chapter 4. Looks like. Oh wow, it only took me 8 minutes to read that chapter. Okay. Like, I kind of want to read more, but I don't want to bore you guys either, you know? So,
I mean, at least for me, it's like I'm not bored. I'm just sort of struggling with the mic thing because it's hard to get into listening when it keeps like eating some of your words on me.
okay. That might
But
be
that's not your fault.
me
Yeah,
correcting myself, too.
it's just how it is.
Yeah. What about you, Cobra?
It's fine. I can hear you okay. No issues, so.
Okay. Like, do you have enough time to do your streams now? If I end here, Cobra? 'Cause I know you're wanting to do a
Uh,
couple streams.
Well, you could do one more chapter, you said, or?
Yeah, I can do one more chapter if you want.
Well, I mean, it's up to you. It's like it's your special and stuff. So if you do one more, like if you rerun more, then it's fine. I still got plenty of time, so no rush.
Okay. I just didn't want to interfere with your plans, you know. I'll try
That's
work
fine.
around it. Okay. No one's left the chat, so I guess I'll go on. Chapter 3 Old Grudges. Mute City, Earth. Galactic Federation frigate, Arm of Zeus. Alarms blared throughout the ship, the emergency lights flooding the normally pristine white and gray corridors with red and yellow as blaster fire echoed off the walls. All stations on alert. Emergency Protocol 66 in effect. Repeat, Protocol 66 is in effect. The sounds of fighting cracked against the metal interior of the ship as Lieutenant Davriel drew closer to the source of the conflict. As he jogged down the corridor with his weapon in hand, Davriel slid up against the wall as he drew close to a T-section. Peeking around the corner, his eyes widened in surprise behind his visor. A woman was fighting two heavily armed commandos and winning. Who is she? He murmured to himself as he watched as the blonde woman caught one commando's arm, leapt up, and grabbed his head, pulsing the trooper and using his momentum to send him crashing to the ground, and at the same time send her flying into the second commando. As she swung upright, her knees crashed into the unfortunate man's visor, shattering it as the back of his head rebounded against the bulkhead behind him. And she stopped herself just in time from hitting the wall with her hands. The commando dropped like a rock, his weapon clattering to the floor. Without looking, the blonde addressed him. What are you waiting for? Backup? Or an invitation? Davros swallowed hard as he looked at the numerous commandos, guards, and officers that littered the floor around her. Backup, he said hesitantly. She turned and looked at him then. Piercing blue eyes, speckled with green, bore into his visor. Smart, she said, before walking away. His eyes instinctively lowered to her backside, and watched her hips sway. A moment later, her finger wagged from side to side, and he ducked back around the corner. Samus ran down the hallway, the wailing sirens and blaring commands of the captain over the ship's intercom making it difficult to hear anyone ahead of her. A man rounded the corner as she came up to it, wearing the uniform of sergeant in the Galactic Federation. She didn't hesitate. Samus hit him with a left hook, knocking him against the wall, and then knocking him cold by slamming her elbow into his forehead as she ran past. 6 soldiers stopped in their tracks as the sergeant slumped to the floor, none of them expecting her to take them all on. They raised their weapons in unison and fired, their shots going wide as Samus leapt out of the way and raised her own weapon as she bounced off the right wall, fired, and bounced again off the opposite wall to land behind them. Behind the soldiers, as the fire suppression system went off, concealing her and the soldiers in a thick mist. A moment later, the fusion suit formed around her, as she summoned it with her mind as she ran on. The HUD provided a small map, as well as radar, allowing her to see the GF troops before they appeared, and plan accordingly. Samus easily evaded the GF troops, but they were on their home turf, whereas she had never been there before. The soldiers were waiting for her around every corner, and the tight corners made it a challenge for Samus to use the fusion suit's extensive capabilities, forcing her into hand-to-hand confrontations often. The fusion armor's weaponry was too powerful, even for the power-armored commandos of the Galactic Federation, and would only make her situation that much harder and earn her a higher bounty, which would mean dealing with more mercenaries and fellow bounty hunters. Fun as thrashing the competition was, it was also time-consuming. With a sweep of her arm cannon, Samus blocked and pushed away a punch from another Marine. He was prepared for a counterpunch from the bounty hunter, but he wasn't prepared for her kick, which sent him flying into his comrades, allowing Samus to use the fusion suit to jump past the fallen Marines. "Samus to McCloud, tell me you're in position," Samus ordered, a hint of desperation in her voice. "Keep your Zero suit on. We're ready," came the expected reply. "You better be. We only get the one shot at this," she said. "Samus, relax. He'll be here," Fox said a little agitatedly. Samus backhanded a soldier, flipping him end over end. A loud thud, along with the man's groaning, transmitted over the comms, as she asked, "What do you mean, he'll be here? I thought you were ready." She could hear the Fox humanoid's grimace as he said, "Well, you know, Falco. He likes to make an entrance." At that moment, across town, the iconic F-Zero racing craft, the Blue Falcon, sped down the highway. Captain Falcon had just finished a race and came in second due to an accident on the track. The hover car, two cars ahead of him, had been rammed by Biorex. The pilot of the unfortunate craft had lost control and hit a mine on the track. The explosion had been too close for Jody Summers, the pilot ahead of him, to go around, and while in the blaze, hit the destroyed craft so perfectly the wreck had been launched at the good captain, due to the smooth aerodynamic structure of Jody's craft, the White Cat. The wreck had damaged one of the Blue Falcon's thrusters and slowed him just enough to place him in second. There wasn't anything to be gained legally by confronting the cybernetic dinosaur, so he just let it go, and went to his underground repair shop and rebuilt the damaged thruster himself by salvaging what he could, and using the spare parts he had, and then buying what he didn't. By the time he was finished, he'd blown through the prize money he'd obtained. That was when he received a call from the Galactic Federation's Bounty Hunter Operations Office. The Guild, as it was known. Bounty hunters and mercenaries that were frequently hired... Or, to the bounty hunters and mercenaries they frequently hired, it was an insult. Simply meant untrustworthy. The guild had a sinister reputation for backstabbing the contractors in the legally gray manner wherever something didn't go their way. They paid well, though, which is why they were still around. There were organizations that thrived in the shadows, and others that lived in the light, but few others than the bounty hunter offices could truly call the legal gray fog they lived in home. The captain looked down at the display as it flashed and emitted a tone, letting him know he had an incoming call. He pressed the receive call button and waited. "Captain, we have a mission for you. We want you to bring in Samus Aran." Captain Douglas J. Falcon was a veteran soldier, experienced bounty hunter, and an original member of the Smash Brothers tournament. He wasn't an easy man to surprise, but the officer's target almost made him stomp on the brake and demand an explanation. Almost. Instead, he smiled to cover up his surprise and tried to focus on driving. Who'd be stupid enough to place a bounty on her? He asked under his breath. The Federation, came the simple answer. The Federation? Falco exclaimed, his surprise showing. Samus' biggest employers? That's right, the voice over the comm said. And before you ask, no, I don't know. Not my problem. I'm just the middleman. Falcon nodded. Fair enough. What are the charges? Destruction of federal property, grand theft, treason, and murder of federal personnel are atop of the long list of charges, the man said tiredly. It would take too long to read them all. Needless to say, the Federation was very thorough when coming up with her bounty, which, by the way, is time-sensitive. The bounty hunter to find her and bring her to the Galactic Federation HQ gets an insane reward. Falcon smiled. I'm in. You are? I mean, that was easy, the man said. Of course. It's a race, Captain Falcon smiled as he disconnected the call and kicked the Blue Falcon's afterburners to life and roared down the highway, the scenery beginning to blur around him. Okay. Chapter 5. New Wounds. Samus growled as she jumped past another guard, kicked him in the back of the head, and completed her rotation to bring her fist into the visor of his partner, cracking it. She then grabbed the second guard and threw him into the first before running on. Tell me he's close, Fox, Samus growled over the comms. He's on his way, came Fox's quick reply. He better be, or I'm gonna kick his feathered ass. Samus breathed heavily as she ran on. Excuse me, I need a drink.
No worries.
Samus breathed heavily as she ran on, bouncing off walls as she came to corners and intersections. I'm running out of room. And time. Meanwhile, above Mute City, in orbit above Earth, the Great Fox. Whoa! She's pissed! Slippy said, quivering. She's scary when she's pissed. I hypothesize a 93% chance of Slippy wetting himself should he continue to dwell on Samus Aran's emotional state. Rob droned. Not helping, Rob, Fox said with a chuckle. Falco, where are you? Fox said through the comms. I'm catching up with Monroe. Why? You're supposed to make your way to Samus' position, remember? Fox replied. Haven't you been listening to the comms? Yeah, I have. Tell Samus to keep her Zero Suit on. I'll be there. Falco out. Fox gritted his teeth. Damn it, Falco. I just got this ship a few months ago. I don't want Samus blowing it up. I'm so gonna kick his ass. Samus' voice came over the speakers. Hi, Samus. How'd you get my private comm frequency? Came a suddenly nervous-sounding Falco Lombardi. I had Adam hack into the Great Fox's computers, Samus said, matter-of-factly. You really think I wouldn't have a backup plan in case of a stunt like this? Falco huffed. Samus, loosen up. Relax, I'll be there. Then get your ass in the air, came the comm line went dead a moment later. Jeez, what the hell's her problem? Falco huffed grumpily. It's not like she can't handle whatever she's facing. I mean, isn't she supposed to be the best bounty hunter in the galaxy? Yes, she is, and yet your penchant for being late, and not to mention flashy, pisses her off. Imagine that, Cat Monroe said, as she pretended to examine her claws. Falco shook. Hey, I have a reputation to uphold. Well, well, well! Look at who it is, boys! A voice interrupted before Falco could finish. Falco turned upon seeing Cat's wide eyes and hearing his old nickname. Trigger? Ironhide? He said upon seeing the humanoid lion and rhino. How you been, Falco? Ironhide asked with a smirk. Been a while. Yeah, you ain't kidding, Falco said, walking up to the huge man and knocking his fists against the rhinos. Oh boy, Cat murmured. Meanwhile, aboard the Arm of Zeus, just great. Samus had managed to make her way to the hangar where she was supposed to meet Falco, but to no one's great surprise, he wasn't there. The AI for the ship was blaring her location over the comms, trying to be heard over the alarms, and fully armed soldiers in power armor were pouring into the room now. Samus, give up. We don't want to hurt you, one of the officers said. Samus turned her visored gaze to him. She recognized him from earlier, the officer that had been waiting for backup. Doesn't look that way to me, kid. And you have your orders. You all know I won't go quietly, so let's get to it. Lieutenant Daffrel looked crestfallen, and for a moment Samus felt sorry for him. Then someone shot her in the freaking shoulder. Pity and regret were replaced with pain and anger. Samus turned her head and looked back at the soldier that had shot her, her eyes burning. A silence fell over the room, everyone unsure of what Samus, the most famous bounty hunter in the galaxy, would do. Samus' eyes hardened, as one by one the soldiers raised their weapons. So be it, Samus murmured as she raised her arm cannon and fired at the man that had shot her. The powered beam hit the soldier square in the chest, the thickest part of his armor, and sent him flying into his comrades. Samus whirled around and fired another bolt of energy, doing much the same to the next man, then leapt into the air as a barrage of crossfire came her way. The energy bolts passed under Samus harmlessly, and instead hit everyone that fired as the energy passed through each other. Samus hung from a metal beam that had supported the ceiling and fired down on her attackers, then swung out of the way of the return fire and let back down to the floor. Samus looked around her and saw a sea of silver-powered armor. She was going to have to escape on her own. Again. This is Fox. I'm on my way, Samus, she heard over the comms. How far away are you? It's getting pretty crowded in here, Samus said, as she sidestepped an attempt to tackle her, and fell into the arms of a big trooper waiting behind her, who tried to hold her in place. I'm in my R-Wing now, so not too far, Fox replied. Great Fox is entering Earth's atmosphere behind me. Two soldiers ran out trying to grab Samus so they could put the electric cuffs on her, but they were both sent flying away as by the bounty hunter's strong legs. Samus spent the next few minutes kicking away the troopers that ran up to try and restrain her. Fox's promise of rescue was drowned out by the cacophony of battle. Finally, Samus managed to struggle out of the big trooper's iron grip and roll away. She built energy up in her boots and went upwards once again, dodging another tackle attempt, this time by a group of men. As Samus hung by her grapple beam, her arm cannon charged as she looked for a structural weakness in the ship's bulkhead to take advantage of. But she found none, save for an air vent. Raising her arm, she blasted the vent cover off before the troops below her blasted the steel beam at one end, destabilizing it and causing it to fall away from her intended target, forcing her to drop back to the hangar floor. A quick charge of energy to the boots had her rocketing toward the vent again, however. Pulling herself into the vent, she switched to her X-ray visor, and began making her way towards the outside. And that will be chapter 6. Is where I left. This is where I'm gonna stop. So, eventually we get to a part where Samus explains what's going on. But needless to say, she's got to make her escape first, because Fox is going to demand some answers from her. Yeah. Right. Well, this is going to be it. And I hope you guys enjoyed. And
Oh yeah.
if you like, maybe I can do this again sometime.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, you can post this at the fanfiction website.
Yeah, I do. I need to.
See if people leave reviews on it.
Where is my Smash Brothers playlist on my channel? Oh, there it is. It's way down there. Okay. Alright, so what are you going to be doing later, Cobra?
I think I might try out a game that some people suggested I try, which is Rocket League.
Oh, okay. And no, if you were going to do that this morning or later. I read up on the chat this morning, so. But thanks a lot for coming by, Cobra. I really appreciate it, dude.
No problem. Congrats on 200 subs, man.
Yeah. And thank you too, Matt. Like, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you guys showing up.
Yeah, of course, dude.
And I'm currently at 222 subscribers, by the way.
Nice.
So, shout outs to all you guys that have subscribed to me. I do, by the way, have a Discord. Let me put the link in the chat for anyone that comes by later. There it is. that watches this afterward. Please subscribe to MonsterMatt and Hesitate Cobra Gaming. They're both great guys and good friends of mine. And I'm sure they'd love your support. Alright, guys. This is going to be it. So I hope you guys have a good day, and I'll see you in the next one.
Cheers, you guys.
Alright. See ya.
It's Gladiator0161 signing out.